The G3 is a 7.62 x 51 mm NATO battle rifle developed in the 1956 by the German armament manufacturer Heckler Koch GmbH in collaboration with the Spanish state-owned design and development agency CETME. History. The origin of this rifle can be traced back to the final years of World War II, when Mauser engineers at the Light Weapon Development Group at Oberndorf am Neckar designed the MKB Gerato 6 prototype assault rifle chambered for the intermediate 7.92 x 33 mm Kurz cartridge. First with the Gerato 6 model using a roller-locked short recoil mechanism originally adapted from the MG42 machine gun, but with a fixed barrel and conventional gas-actuated piston rod. It was realized that with careful attention to the mechanical ratios, the gas system could be omitted. The resultant weapon, the Gerato 6H, was assigned the designation STG-45 or assault rifle, but was not produced in any significant numbers, and the war ended before the first production rifles were completed. The German technicians involved in developing the STG-45 were taken to work in France at CEAM. The STG-45 mechanism was modified by Ludwig Vogeleder and Theodor Loeffler at the Mulhouse facility between 1946 and 1949. Three versions were made: chambered in 30 carbine, 7.92 x 33 mm Kurz, as well as the experimental 7.65 x 35 mm French short cartridge developed by Cartoucherie de Valence in 1948. A 7.5 x 38 mm cartridge, using a partial aluminium bullet, was abandoned in 1947. Loeffler's design, designated the Carabine Mitrailleuse Model 1950, was retained for trials among 12 different prototypes designed by CEAM, MAC, and MAS. Engaged in the Indochina War and being the second NATO contributor, France cancelled the adoption of these new weapons for financial reasons. In 1950, Vogeleder moved to Spain, where he created the LV-50 rifle chambered for the Kurz cartridge, and later, the proprietary 7.92 x 40 mm CETME M53 round. At this point, the rifle was renamed the Model 02. The Model 02 drew the attention of the West German border guards, who sought to re-equip the newly formed National Defense Forces. Not willing to accept a cartridge outside of the NATO specification, the Germans asked CETME to develop a 7.62 x 51 mm version of the rifle. The resulting CETME Model A was chambered for the 7.62 x 51 mm CETME cartridge, which was identical in chamber dimensions but had a reduced power load compared to the 7.62 x 51 mm NATO round. Further development of the rifle with input from H&AMP-K produced the CETME Model B, which received several modifications, including the ability to fire from a closed bolt in both semi-automatic and automatic firing modes, a new perforated sheet metal handguard, improved ergonomics, and a slightly longer barrel with a 22 mm rifle grenade launcher guide. In 1958, this rifle was accepted into service with the Spanish Army as the Model 58, using the 7.62 x 51 mm CETME round. In 1956, the Bundesgrenzschutz cancelled the planned procurement of the CETME rifles, adopting the Belgian-made FN-FAL instead. However, the newly formed West German Army now showed interest and soon purchased a number of CETME rifles for further testing. The CETME, known as the Automatisches Gewehr G3 according to German nomenclature, competed successfully against the Swiss Sagesse G510 and the American R10 to replace the previously favored G1 rifle. In January 1959, the Bundeswehr officially adopted the CETME proposal. The West German government wanted the G3 rifle to be produced under license in Germany. Purchase of the G1 had previously fallen through over FN's refusal to grant such a license. In the case of the G3, the Dutch firm Nederlands Wapen en Munitiefabriek held production and sales rights to the CETME design outside of Spain. To acquire production rights, the West German government offered NWM contracts to supply the German Air Force with 20mm ammunition. Production of the G3 was then assigned to Rheinmetall and H&M-K. The latter company already had ties to CETME, and had worked to further optimize the CETME rifle for use with the full-power 7.62 x 51mm NATO cartridge. In 1969, Rheinmetall gave up production rights to the G3 in exchange for H&M-K's promise not to bid on MG3 production. Later in 1977, the West German government ceded ownership of G3 production and sales rights exclusively to H&M-K. Initial production G3 rifles differed substantially from more recent models. Early rifles featured closed-type mechanical flip-up sights, a lightweight folding bipod, a stamped sheet steel handguard, a wooden buttstock or a telescopic metal stock. The weapon was modernized during its service life, resulting in the most recent production models, the G3A3 and the G3A4. The rifle proved successful in the export market, being adopted by the armed forces of over 40 countries. The G3 was and in some cases continues to be produced under license in France, Greece, Iran, Luxembourg, Mexico, Myanmar, Norway, Pakistan, Portugal, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Thailand, Turkey and the United Kingdom. Design details. The G3A3 is a selective fire automatic weapon that employs a roller-delayed blowback operating system. The two-piece bolt assembly consists of a breech and bolt carrier. The bolt is held in battery by two sliding cylindrical rollers that engage locking recesses in the barrel extension. The breech is opened when both rollers are compressed inward against camming surfaces driven by the rearward pressure of the expanding gases upon the bolt head. As the rollers move inward, recoil energy is transferred to the locking piece and bolt carrier, which begin to withdraw while the bolt head slowly moves rearward in relation to the bolt carrier. As the bolt carrier clears the rollers, pressure in the bore drops to a safe level. The bolt head is caught by the bolt carrier and moves to the rear as one unit, continuing the operating cycle. The bolt also features an anti-bounce mechanism that prevents the bolt from bouncing off the barrel's breech surface. The spring-powered claw extractor is also contained inside the bolt, while the lever ejector is located inside the trigger housing. The rifle is hammer-fired and has a trigger mechanism with a 3-position fire selector switch that is also the manual safety toggle that secures the weapon from accidentally discharging. F or 20 automatic fire S or 0 weapon is safe, trigger disabled mechanically. The weapon can be fitted with an optional 4-position safety fire selector group illustrated with pictograms with an ambidextrous selector lever. The additional fourth selector setting enables a 3-round burst mode of fire. The firearm is equipped with iron sights that consist of a rotary rear drum and hooded front post. The rear sight, mechanically adjustable for both windage and elevation, has an open notch used to fire up to 100 meters and 3 apertures used for 200, 300 and 400 meters. The receiver housing has recesses that work with HK clamp adapters used to mount day or night optics. The rifled barrel terminates with a slotted flash suppressor which can also be used to attach a bayonet to serve as an adapter for launching rifle grenades. For the G3A3 the barrel had polygonal rifling. The barrel chamber is fluted, which assists in the initial extraction of a spent cartridge casing. The G3A3 uses either steel or aluminium 20-round double-stacked straight box magazines, or a 50-round drum magazine. H&K developed a prototype plastic disposable magazine in the early 1960s, but it was not adopted as aluminum magazines were just as light and proved more durable, as well as easier to produce. Standard accessories supplied with the rifle include a detachable bipod, sling, cleaning kit and a speed loading device. Several types of bayonet are available for the G3, but with few exceptions they require an adapter to be inserted into the end of the cocking tube. The most common type features a 63/4-inch spear point blade nearly identical with the M7 bayonet, but with a different grip because of its mounting above the barrel. The weapon can also mount a 40mm HK-79 under-barrel grenade launcher, blank firing adapter, a straight blowback bolt used for firing 7.62 x 51mm ammunition with plastic bullets, a conversion kit used for training with .22 long rifle ammunition and a sound suppressor. The G3 is a modular weapon system. Its buttstock, forestock and pistol grip fire control assembly may be changed at will in a variety of configurations. Simple push pins hold the components in place and removing them will allow the user to remove and replace parts rapidly. Variants. Apart from the G3A3 and G3A4 HK also built the G3A3 ZF, the Acurized G3SG1 rifle and the G3K carbine, which uses an HK-33 handguard and a short barrel that is too short for use with a bayonet or rifle grenades. The G3 served as a basis for many other weapons, among them the PSG-1 and MSG-90 precision rifles, the HK-11 and HK-21 family of light machine guns, a semi-automatic version known as the HK-41, a sporturized model called the State Route 9 and the MC-51 carbine. G3, original model based on the CETME Model OB. It had a wooden stock and handguard. G3A1, G3 with a single-position, collapsible stock. This design was chosen after earlier experimentation with an MP40-style ventrally folding metal stock. Excessive recoil caused it to be dropped from consideration. G3A2, G3 with new rotating drum rear sight. G3A3, the most well-known version, drum sights, a fixed plastic buttstock, and a plastic handguard that does not contact the barrel. The handguard came in a slim, ventilated version and a wide version. The latter allows for the attachment of a bipod. G3A3A1. This is a version of the G3A3 with an ambidextrous trigger group and brass deflector. This is an official German Army designation, not an HK factory one. G3A4. The G3A4 uses drum sights and a single-position, collapsible stock. Entered service in 1974 for frontline infantry units. G3A4A1. This is a variant of the G3A4 with an ambidextrous trigger group and brass deflector. This is an official German Army designation, not an HK factory one. G3KA4, smallest of the line, it is a carabiner, or carbine version of the G3. It features drum sights, a retractable stock, and a 315 mm barrel. G3KA4A1, variant of the G3KA4 with an ambidextrous trigger group and brass deflector. This is an official German Army designation, not an HK factory one. Models made under license G3P3, model number for Pakistani-made version of G3A3. G3P4, model number for Pakistani-made version of G3A4. G3A5, HK assigned model number for the HK-made Danish version of the G3A3. It differs in that it has a silent bolt closure device. In Danish service it is known as the GVM-66. The GVM-66 was originally intended for use with optics as a designated marksman rifle, while the rest of the squad were issued M1 Garands. G3A6, HK assigned model number for the Iranian-made version of the G3A3. It differs in having a dark green handguard, stock, and trigger pack. G3A7, HK assigned model number for the Turkish-made version of the G3A3. G3A7A1, HK assigned model number for the Turkish-made version of the G3A4. HSG1, HK assigned model number for the Luxembourg-made version of the G3A3. Other military variants and derivatives: Denmark GVM-75 variant leased from the German Bundeswehr, German government by the Danish government to replace the aging M1 Garands. Originally manufactured by either Rheinmetall or HK for the German Bundeswehr, the GVM-75 rifles are basically G3s with the old-style straight cocking tube as opposed to the later FS variant. The Rheinmetall versions lack an external selector lever and can be converted from semi-automatic to full automatic by the use of a special tool. East Germany NDR SDG-59. The NDR assault rifle was an entrant into the East German armed forces. It externally resembled the G3 but internally the Sturmgewehr 44. It was chambered in the 7.62 x 39 mm round fed from 30-round magazines and gas-operated using a tilting bolt. It was resistant to the likes of dirt but found too complicated when field stripping. The NDR was trialled against the Czechoslovak VZ-58. The project was cancelled as the AK-47 was preferred. Norway AG3, Norwegian G3A5 variant produced by Kongsberg Våpenfabrik, with the given name Automatgewehr 3. A total of 253,497 units were produced for the Norwegian Armed Forces from 1967 to 1974. The Norwegian AG3 differs from the original G3. It has a buttstock that is approx. 2 cm longer. The bolt carrier has a serrated thumb groove to aid in silent bolt closure. It features an all-metal cocking handle and a different bayonet mount. On April 11, 2007, it was announced that the AG3 would be replaced by the Heckler Koch HK416 in all military branches except for certain groups of the Home Guard. AG3F1 and AG3 with a retractable stock as on G3A4. produced by Kongsberg Vapenfabrik. A retractable stock was required by certain groups of soldiers within the Norwegian armed forces, primarily vehicle crews with limited space inside, particularly where a quick disembarkment from such a vehicle is required. All versions of the AG3 have the ability to attach a 40mm HK-79 grenade launcher. AG3F2, an improvement of the AG3F1, featuring B and AMP-T Picatinny rails on the receiver, as well as ARIS handguard. On the AG3F2, aim-point red dot sights were mounted onto the receiver top rail for fast-to-quick acquisition, and easier aiming in low-light conditions. Sweden AG4, Swedish-made version of the G3A3, with a buttstock that is approx. 2 cm longer. The bolt carrier has a serrated thumb groove to aid in silent bolt closure and fitted with a heavy buffer for higher number of rounds fired before failure. The rifles were manufactured from 1965 to 1970 by both Carl Gustaf Stadsgevers Fabrik and Husqvarna Vapenfabriken from 1970 until the end of production in 1985 exclusively by Gevers Fabrik in Eskilstuna. All AG4s are adapted to mount the M203 grenade launcher. Sweden has supplied unmodified AG4s to Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. AG4OR Optiskrekt Medel optical sight. This model is fitted with a Hensoldt 4x24 telescopic sight mounted via AHK claw mount. During a few years it was not issued, but it is now again in use by the Hemvärnet Nationella Skydstyrkorna. AG4B. In this updated version the iron sights have been removed and replaced with an aim-point CS red dot reflex sight mounted on a Picatinny rail. The rail is welded onto the rifle. Used by Hemvärnet Nationella Skydstyrkorna. In 2015 the Swedish Defence Materiel Administration FMV procured a new modular handguard and a new adjustable stock for the AK-4. Both items will be manufactured and supplied by the Swedish company SPER. Idalbihab Iran Dio G3A3 Bullpup Iranian Bullpup variant of the G3. Pakistan G3P4 Pakistan Ordnance Factory designation for license-produced G3A4 rifles. G3S, a version of G3P3 with a shorter barrel. G3M Tactical, a lightweight version of G3 rifle with polymer body and shorter barrel. United Kingdom FR Ordnance MC51 machine carbine, produced by the UK firm FR Ordnance International Limited. The MC51 weighs 3.1 kilograms, has a folded overall length of 625 mm, a barrel length of only 230 mm, which produces a muzzle velocity of approx. 690 meters per second and a muzzle energy of 2,215 J. Another UK-based company called Imperial Defence Services Limited absorbed FR Ordnance and continues to market the MC51 standard variant. Specialized G3 types G3 TGS. This is simply a G3 with a 40mm HK-79 under-barrel grenade launcher. TGS stands for Tragbear's Granite System. G3A3ZF. This is a rifle issued with a claw and rail scope bracket on a 4x24mm Hensoldt scope. The ZF stands for Zeal Fern Raw or telescopic sight. G3SG-1, an accurized variant of the G3. The SG stands for Scharfschützengewehr or sharpshooting rifle. The rifles were individually selected from the production line for their accuracy and then modified. His ICE 1.5 to 6 times variable power telescopic sight was added using AHK claw mount attached to the receiver. The stock was extended slightly compared to the standard G3 fixed stock and comes with a heavy, dual-stage buffer and adjustable cheek rest. A special set trigger group was added for a crisp trigger pull of 1 pound. Automatic fire was retained. G3, a variant featuring the newer scope mount that is found on only a few of the Heckler and Koch rifles, as compared to the more conventional claw mounts, though the claw mounting points remain on the receiver. This newer scope mount does not allow the use of the open sights with the mount in place, as is the case with the more conventional claw mount. PSG-1, a free-floating barrel semi-auto-only version of the G3 with numerous other upgrades and such to meet the necessities of police sniper units. This rifle is famous for its accuracy and comfort, but infamous for its price and inability to be deployed by military units because some upgrades made the rifle too fragile. G90, a somewhat cheaper version of the PSG-1 modified for military applications. HK-32, an experimental variant of the rifle chambered for the Soviet 7.62 x 39 mm M43 cartridge. It was never adopted by any country. Law enforcement and civilian models G3A1*. The terminology used by custom gunsmiths and importers for imported semi-automatic G3 weapons with an aftermarket side-folding stock. This is not part of official HK nomenclature. HK-41. The HK-41 is a semi-automatic version of the G3 that was marketed to law enforcement. Limited sales at home and U.S. import restrictions and firearms regulations led this weapon to be dropped from HK's product line quickly, and it was replaced by the HK-91. Fleming Arms HK-51. Contrary to popular belief, the HK-51 is not made by H&K, being a creation of the American Class II manufacturing aftermarket. The HK-51 has no real standards but is usually a cut-down and modified G3A3 or its semi-automatic clones, the HK-41 and HK-91, and modified to take MP5, furniture and accessories. It is usually fitted with a collapsible stock, with a 211 mm long barrel. It is relatively small at 589 mm with the stock retracted and 780 mm with the stock extended. The first commercial version was by Bill Fleming of Fleming Arms and existed before Heckler and Koch made the HK-53. HK-91. The HK-91 is a semi-automatic version of the G3 similar to the HK-41, also marketed to civilians. However, in order to comply with U.S. firearm regulations, a number of modifications to the HK-91 were made that do not appear on the first pattern HK-41. Internal parts that could allow fully automatic fire were removed. A shelf was welded onto the receiver where the pushpin of the trigger pack would normally go, to prevent installation of a fully automatic trigger pack. This did not allow the use of the paddle-style magazine release, and so the magazine release button on the right side of the magazine well must be used instead. It is otherwise identical to the G3A3A4. Importation into the United States began in 1974 and ceased in 1989, with some 48,000 rifles being imported. HK-911. The HK-911 was an HK-91A2 with the flash hider removed and the receiver re-stamped with an extra one to comply with the U.S. importation ban of 1989. The new designation theoretically made it legally immune to the import ban. His no HK-911 rifles were mentioned on the list of banned guns. However, the later banning of several paramilitary features on the HK-911 made it illegal. State Route 9. These variants of the HK-91ZF were created to comply with the semi-auto import ban of 1989. HK-9, which included all variants of the HK-91. They differed from the HK-91 in that they had the flash hiders removed and featured a smooth fore end that lacked the bipod attachment point. The State Route 9 series were banned from importation to the United States because they could accept standard capacity magazines. The State Route 9 was an HK-9-1A2ZF with the pistol grip and buttstock replaced with a one-piece thumbhole stock. State Route 9, the all-target model, was an HK-9-1A2ZF with the trigger replaced with the PSG-1 model, the pistol grip replaced with an ergonomic PSG-1 grip and the buttstock replaced with an MSG-90 model. State Route 9, the all-target competition model, was an HK-9-1A2ZF with the trigger group, pistol grip and buttstock derived from the PSG-1. Other manufacturers PTR-91 series. Additionally, JLD started manufacturing semi-automatic copies of the HK G3 called the PTR-91 in the United States. They used tooling from the FMP Arms factory in Portugal to build the rifles. Sentry International Arms. Sentry Arms builds a clone of the G3 under the model designation of C308-3 Saudi Riyals, semi-automatic copy of HK-91 made by Ebo in Greece and imported into the United States by Springfield Armory. -8 Saudi Riyals, post-ban version of -3 Saudi Riyals, modified to comply with import restrictions. Pakistan Ordnance factories produced under license. Conflicts. The Heckler Koch G3 has been used in the following conflicts.